that invest wisely, there are people that spend cautiously, they don't waste money. That all these things that they're doing just for the grand, just for the entertainment, just for popularity, just to be the talk of the town, So that's what I'm talking about, deceptive. So, and again, it affects your self-esteem. When you see images like this and people acting like this, sometimes you may feel like you're not doing good enough. You may feel like, man, look at this guy has his packs. See my fat, I'm not doing good enough. Oh, I feel bad about myself that I don't have six packs. Or you may see some celebrity after their images have gotten some work done, have been photoshopped. They look so handsome. You're like, man. And you are looking at yourself, you're not so handsome, but then Davido is so handsome. Look at his sideburns, look at his eyebrows, look at his hair, everything. And then you start feeling that you're not good enough, that you're worthless. The same thing happens to women too. They see some of these are favorite celebs who got some work done, who has some airbrush pictures and all this. And so when they look at themselves, that they are not good enough, they are ugly, that no man wants them, they are not as beautiful as Iniedo, they are not as slim as Genevieve, they are not as tall as Stephen Okere. So some of these things affects their self-esteem and make them feel inadequate. So another thing about social media is that social media is one thing you notice about social media is the anonymous. What I mean by that is that social media, somebody can pretend to be another person. This is not, I'm not even, it's similar to the deception I was talking about, but like you can be another person. I've had, actually, where you see this in a lot is on dating apps. When you see a verified profile, meanwhile, the person that verified the profile is no longer using the profile. There's now a man behind that female's profile and is using the opportunity to like take money from men, propose some rubbish to them. Oh, I'll give you this if you give me this. I'll give you naked pictures if you give me money and all this stuff. And so that anonymous becomes an avenue where they can even commit a crime. Where they can tell the person, oh, send me money and I'll send you some naked pictures. The person sends the money and no pictures. Buy me this and I'll give you that. The person buys the thing and nothing happens. Oh, I'll come to your house, give me 6,000 naira so I can take transport to the place and nothing happens. So it becomes the anonymous and the fact that somebody can pretend to be another person, the fact that I can switch my identities, it can be this person, it can be that person, creates an avenue for crime. The fact it can be anonymous also means that people can commit cyberbullying online. They can send you a horrifying message or threatening message about if you do this, we'll come to you, do that. So that part of it makes it like, it makes it very dangerous. It makes social media very, very dangerous. Another thing again I've come is number 9 is information overload. I want to spend some more time on this. Information overload basically is that when you're on social media, chances are you'll be overloaded with so much information. Imagine if you're watching reels, on Instagram or YouTube. You can go from, watching a man and a man kiss, I'm not gay. Watching a man and a man kiss, to a woman and a woman kiss, then to Neymar playing football, to Messi walking with his kids, to The Rock walking out in the gym, to watching children run on the beach, to watch a man, watching your favorite writer write a script, to watch a man talking about suicide prevention, watch another man talk about addictions, watch another man talk about how he was molested at 10, watch another man talk about how he sells perfume, watch a woman talk about how they sell shirts, watch a guy talk about how he sells shoes, watch a woman talk about how he sells blenders. So it's like all this information are coming to you, and what makes it difficult or what makes it problematic is the fact that there is no even order. What concerns a man that is selling perfume with a man talking about suicide prevention? What concerns a man selling shoe with a man that is selling wine? What concerns a man that is selling books with a footballer that is about to score, that is about to score a goal in the clip you just watched? Like, the information are not related, and so it just bombards your brain with information that you are like, what the hell is this? Like, what the nonsense is this? And it overloads your head with so much information you don't need. Maybe out of 20 reels, maybe one of them makes sense, and all these things you are watching is affecting you. All these things you are watching is affecting you. You may not know it, but it's affecting how you see the world. And sometimes, since they don't match, what does your brain make of it? All these images that your brain is being exposed to, it's not even correlated. So it's information overload because it's too much information that you don't even need. If as I'm talking about this now, I'm doing this presentation, I'm talking about the cons of social media, right? Everything I talk about somehow is related to the cons of social media, But when I'm now talking about the cons of social media, now I'm talking about perfume, I'm talking about book, I'm talking about Everwater, I'm talking about coffee, I'm talking about shoes, when I'm now talking about things that are not related, you self will be like, what is it? You'll be like, what is he even talking about? How is all this thing even related? What is even happening here? I want even wasting time watching. So you act that way then, but when you're watching, you don't act that way. You cannot just okay. You understand? So it's information overload and it's not good. It's not good to overload the information with things that are not important. Why stress your brain? Why have yourself keep something in your brain that is of no use to you? So number 10 is boredom. Social media has become an avenue to fight boredom. When I'm just bored, nothing to do, let me just go on social media. Let me just watch a clip or something. But what we fail to understand, or what we miss, is that people forget that some of the things that were invented, some of the ideas that were developed sometimes came out of boredom. Someone was tired of doing something the same way all the time, was bored of doing the same thing. That's why they invented something new. Boredom is one of those forces that tend to drive innovations, but people don't know that. If you see yourself doing the same thing all the time, chances are, if you have a creative mind, you may say, why don't I do this thing like this? Why don't I try it this way? Boredom is an avenue that even leads us to solve problems that may be plaguing us in our daily lives. But social media has now given us that medium whereby we see boredom as something that we need to avoid. We see boredom as something that we need to escape. So anytime we feel like, oh man, there's nothing to do, I have to go on social media, and sometimes that's the reason why some of us don't really take steps in our lives to change our lives, because that boredom that comes from doing the same thing that was supposed to harness and use it to make our lives better, we use social media to block it. It's something that you don't hear people talk about all the time. Boredom is good because it gives you an opportunity to look at things differently. It gives you an opportunity to examine your life. It gives you an opportunity to come up with new ideas. It gives you an opportunity to see things differently or contemplate how things can change. But when we substitute our boredom with social media and use social media to block our boredom, then it gives us little room for us to change our lives, contemplate new ways to make our lives better. So boredom is very good. And if you have any, you can read up on it. You'll be surprised how important boredom is. Even though we've made it in a society like it's a bad thing, boredom is very important. Now, the last part is privacy. Thanks to social media, most of us don't have privacy anymore. And when I'm talking about privacy, I want to really go a particular route with this. Thanks to social media now, we know how much celebrities make. We know how much Johnny Depp made with this movie Pirates of the Caribbean. We know how much The Rock made with Kevin Hart in one movie or not, well, that movie. Social media has given us that avenue for us to know, have access to people's lives, know how much they make, where they live, their habits, and with that comes the end of privacy. I can't remember the name of this rapper that was killed because he posted his location on social media. I think it was P-Rock or something. He got shot there because people knew that he was there. So they came there and they hurt him, And many footballers, that are popular in Premier League have been attacked because people knew how much they earn, where they live, and if they were home. A good example is Sterling, Raheem Sterling that plays for Chelsea. In 2022, his house was robbed, while he was representing England in Qatar. What I find very interesting about that is what the report said is that everybody knew that Sterling was representing England in the World Cup, So, because he was representing England in the World Cup, the criminals knew that he was not home. They knew that Sterling was not home because representing England in the World Cup